Thanks for tuning in. The Barbershop Sports Talk.
Devante Smith, this, what is he, like 5'9", buck 80, that this guy is going to be the Heisman Trophy winner and be the AP College Football Player of the Year and have all these awards. I think that might have shocked some people because you typically don't see that, particularly, it's a quarterback award for the Heisman, and then secondary it's a running back award. You don't typically see wide receivers get that award. So obviously, Devante Smith undoubtedly deserved it, was the best player in college football, but it kind of seemed like he jumped up a level himself. And what do you attribute that to?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's surprising to win a Heisman as a receiver. It's only the third time, in the modern era, first time since Desmond Howard in '91. But, you could see him as he had some very good years at Alabama. Was always overshadowed in a sense by the Jerry Jeudy's, Henry Ruggs, when he was here, because they all came in the same class together. But you could tell he had the hands, he had the strongest hands of that group, very sharp route runner, fast. He kind of had a little bit of all the tools. So it wasn't shocking that he had a big season. He had 3 big seasons before this year. Obviously caught that game-winning pass in the championship game as a freshman, but was, a leader in touchdown receptions a year ago in that group of Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, and Waddle. So it wasn't a shock to see him break out. Maybe not to the same extent that he was going to be smashing every record and 200-yard games pretty much all season. But he might be undersized. I think he uses that like Mac Jones. He uses that as motivation, knowing that there's a lot of doubt about his build, his frame, and he wants to prove he can, run across the middle, that he can play a physical game, even though he's not built like a traditional star receiver.
How do you think he compares to guys like Henry Ruggs and Jerry Jeudy and Jalen Waddle when they were all at Alabama? Because you mentioned you thought he had the strongest hands of the bunch. How do you think he compares to those guys?
I mean, I've always said he's kind of a composite of a lot of those guys, where he's got the speed. He might not be the fastest of that group, and he's definitely not the fastest between Waddle and Ruggs, but he's very fast. He's a very good route runner, where Jeudy was probably the most precise route runner of that group, where he would probably be right behind there. But his hands, I think, always stood out, that he could catch passes in tight places, hold on to low passes, high passes. Just very strong fingertips to catch difficult pass. So I think that's kind of where he stood out among that group.
And also, when you kind of compare him to other Bama receivers, because in the Nick Saban era, right, you have Julio Jones, you have guys like Amari Cooper. How do you think he compares to them?
It's a conversation we've had where it's tough to say exactly how those guys would have performed in an offense that was structured this way. I mean, Julio Jones was here back when Greg McElroy was his quarterback. Fine quarterback, but kind of the epitome of the game manager who wasn't going to. They weren't going to take too many risks throwing the ball. It was mostly handing it to Mark Ingram, to Trent Richardson, and they were going to be the stars of the show. So we never really saw. You never saw Julio Jones in this style of offense. Amari Cooper a little bit more so. They opened things up a little bit in his final season here, but. It's hard to say. I think he's more accomplished than all of them. Would I pick him over those two if I had to make a draft of the best college receiver? I think that's an interesting conversation, and one where I could go a number of different directions, and I wouldn't have a solid number one pick where I would definitely pick that guy over one of the others, because they were all pretty solid in their own right.